idea I want to share with you today is about mutuality. And it's about this idea that mutuality isn't all about the other person. Now, I realize that this might not seem like a very big insight to any of you out there who know what the actual definition of the word mutual is, right? I got it. But I guess I'm a little bit slow, right? Because for me, this was a really big insight. You see, when I teach mutual purpose and mutual respect in the course, I spend a lot of time talking about how you have to understand the other person's purpose and how you have to demonstrate respect for the other person. In fact, sometimes I'll use this slide in presentations where I actually define mutual purpose as, you know that I care about your goals, and mutual respect is, you know that I care about you as a person. But do you see how one-sided these definitions are? And I don't mean just one-sided in that there's nothing there about you caring about my goals or you caring about me as a person. The more important part of mutuality that is missing for me in this is that I care about my goals and that I care about me as a person. This is what I've discovered about mutuality over the last 18 months, that in the most successful relationships I have, I carry mutuality within me. I balance care for the other person's goals with care for myself. I balance respect for the other person with respect for myself. This is ultimately just about drawing and establishing and maintaining boundaries that allow us to have healthy and productive relationships. Here's an example of this with my dad and my twins. I mean, cute, right? So in May of 2015, my dad took a bad fall. He fell and he broke his distal femur, the long bone in your leg. He had to have surgery to repair it, and this fall and subsequent surgery started a downward spiral that led to his death last November. This was hard for a lot of reasons, not the least of which was that he was only 71 at the time that he died. As I think about those months from fall and surgery to death, and I think about all the hospitalizations and the infections, the complications and the medications, and I think about all those things that led to that ultimate diagnosis of congestive heart failure from which he died, the truth of that for me is just a little bit different. The truth of it for me, at least, is that my dad died because for more than 30 years, for more than 3/4 of my life, my dad was what medicine calls morbidly obese, weighing upwards of 400 and at times more than 500 pounds. He was also a genuinely sweet person with really good intentions who was profoundly depressed, sometimes suicidal, and the most deeply dishonest person I have ever known. It's kind of a mixed bag with him. Not surprisingly, because of his weight, he had a lot of mobility issues. And a year ago, May, and this is self-described, sort of launched himself into bed one night, he fell. And he was able to scoot his huge body over to where his cell phone was and call 911. He then scooted his huge body over to the door of his condominium so he could reach up and unlock the deadbolt. The paramedics arrived and they helped him stand up, something he could not do for himself. An hour later, the entire scenario repeated itself, this time with a word of warning from the paramedics. If you call us again, we're gonna take you with us. He was able to get into bed and slept through the night, and the next morning, after a quick trip to the bathroom, he once again sort of launched himself into bed. But this time as he fell with his legs sort of wedged underneath him. And as he tried to scoot and get to his cell phone, the weight of his body twisted his leg and broke his femur, the largest and strongest bone in your body. This time, when the paramedics came, they had to drill through the deadbolt to get into him, and they did take him to the hospital. I didn't know about any of this until hours and hours later, because by then my dad's cell phone was dead and he couldn't remember any of our phone numbers. The hospital staff had eventually gone through the medical records and found me listed as his emergency medical contact. Now, as I said, this was hard. This was hard for a lot of reasons. I was 6 months pregnant with the twins at the time. I had an 18-month-old at home. I was working full time. And as you just heard, I was navigating the disintegration of my marriage. And while my dad had managed to alienate himself from almost every other relationship in his life, we had somehow managed to hang in there together. And in 2007, when Influencer was published, I just knew these were the skills that I needed to help my dad change, to help my dad lose weight and get healthy. I remember sitting in that first Influencer course and thinking, this is it. This is why I've been led to Vital Smarts. These skills, this model of change, this is why God has led me to Vital Smarts, so I can help my dad. And last November, I did help him. I helped him take his last breath and transition out of this life, weighing in at close to 400 pounds. And you know what? I was at peace. My dad's death, it wasn't my failure. And although this took me a while to understand, it was not a failure of influence. One of the most important capacities we possess is the ability to change behavior, our own and others. My dad's behavior did not change despite my influence. And in 2007 and 2008 and 2009, that was really, really hard for me. But somewhere along the line, the thing that did change was our relationship. Because somewhere along the line, I figured it out. I figured out that mutual purpose wasn't just about me caring about his goals with him, and it certainly wasn't about me caring about his goals for him. Mutual respect wasn't about me caring about him as a person while he repeatedly lied to me and let me down. Mutuality was about me caring about him and me. Mutuality was about me respecting him and me. Understanding this, I was able to draw the boundaries that let us have a good relationship. I was able to refuse the fool's choice and say, there is a way that I can have a positive relationship with him that doesn't harm me. And that's what we had. That's what we had in the last years of his life. And I was blessed to spend the last 24 hours of his life with him in a room that was filled with peace and love. The skills that I teach, the skills that all of us teach, they are powerful. And they drive positive, lasting, profound change in our lives and in the lives of those we love and teach. But they do not create a perfect life. They do not create perfection. There is no magic wand or silver bullet. And while crucial skills may not give us a perfect life, they can give us the strength, the resiliency we need to build a beautiful life.